You did not want the coffee. You wanted the feeling of having bought something, the warm cup, the small receipt, the moment of choosing. You handed over money and felt, just for a second, like something was handled. That is not a modern habit. That is something much older. For most of human existence, money did not exist. Not coins, not paper, not numbers on a screen, and yet people traded, trusted, and survived for hundreds of thousands of years without a single cent. Something changed, and whatever changed it is still running inside you right now. Imagine you killed something today. A deer, maybe something larger. You cannot eat all of it, not even close. So you carry it back to camp, and before the sun moves an hour, it is gone. Every piece, shared across every family in the group. You did not charge anyone. You did not keep score. You just gave it away. And here is what is fascinating. That was not generosity. That was strategy. In 1984, a researcher named Nicholas Blurton Jones studied hunter-gatherer camps in Tanzania. He published an influential theory about why food sharing evolved. He was not looking for kindness. He was looking for math. And what he found was this. Sharing food was not about being good. It was about managing risk. You cannot eat a whole deer alone, but you can eat a small piece of many deer over many weeks if everyone around you does the same. The group was not a community. The group was an insurance system. Your body knew that before your mind had words for it. But here is the problem. That system only worked inside a small group, 30 people, maybe 50. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone remembered who gave and who did not. Memory was the only ledger. Then something shifted. Groups got bigger, strangers appeared, and suddenly, memory was not enough. You could not remember if the man from the next valley had ever shared his food. You could not know if the woman trading dried fish had ever cheated someone before. Trust had a wall, and that wall had a name. Archaeologists studying early trade patterns across the Zagros mountain region of what is now Iran have found something that surprised many researchers in the field. Before coins, before clay tablets, before any formal system of exchange, people used objects, specific objects, objects that could not be eaten, objects that had no practical use at all, shells, beads, pieces of polished stone, not because they were pretty, because they were hard to fake. A shell from a coast 300 miles away told you something. It told you this person had connections. This person had traveled or traded with someone who had. This person was not a ghost. This person existed inside a web of relationships you could almost trust. The object was not money yet, but it was doing what money does. It was carrying information about a stranger. Think about what you check before you buy something from someone you have never met. Reviews, ratings, a verified badge, a number next to a profile. You are doing exactly what that ancient trader did with a shell. You are looking for proof that this stranger is real, that they exist inside a web of relationships, that someone, somewhere, already trusted them. The object changed. The need never did. And here is where it gets strange. Those shells and beads were not chosen randomly. Researchers examining burial sites across the Levant found perforated shell beads that were used both for adornment and buried with the dead. They showed up in graves as far back as 100,000 years ago. 100,000 years, which means whatever these objects represented, trust, connection, proof of existence, it mattered enough to carry into death. You have never buried a coin with someone you loved, but you have probably tucked something inside a casket, a photograph, a letter, something small that stood for something large. That instinct is not modern sentiment. It is ancient accounting. The things that matter most have always needed a symbol, something you could hold, something that did not disappear when the moment ended. But that is not the whole story. Here is what nobody talks about. The first money was not invented by merchants. It was not invented by kings. It was not invented by anyone trying to get rich. It was invented by people who were afraid. Not afraid of poverty, afraid of obligation. In small camps, every gift created a debt. Not a written debt, not a spoken one, but a felt one. You gave me meat last Tuesday. Now I owe you something. I do not know what, I do not know when, but my body knows, and your body knows. Researchers who study obligation in small communities call this a shadow ledger, an invisible record that every member of a group carries without ever writing anything down. You feel it when someone pays for dinner and you forgot your wallet. You feel it when a colleague covers your shift and you say, "I owe you one." That feeling is ancient. It is not manners. It is survival software. But shadow ledgers have a flaw. They only work when debts stay roughly equal. When one person gives too much, the system breaks, resentment builds, the group fractures. And as groups grew larger, 10 families becoming 30, 30 becoming 100, the shadow ledger could not hold the weight. Something had to replace memory. Something had to make debt visible. In 1969, an archaeologist began studying small clay objects found across dozens of sites in ancient Mesopotamia. They had been found before, dismissed before, called tokens, called decorative. But she noticed something. The shapes were not random. A cone meant 1 unit of grain. A sphere meant 1 measure of oil. A cylinder meant 1 animal. These tiny clay objects, some no bigger than a thumbnail, were among the first external memory systems humans ever built. Not writing, not numbers, a physical record of what one person owed another. The shadow ledger had finally found a body, and once debt had a physical shape, everything accelerated. Because now you could trade with a stranger and prove what was owed. Now you could leave a village and come back to find your debt still waiting. Now obligation survived distance. It survived time. It survived death. That last part mattered more than anything. Before physical tokens, if you died owing someone, the debt died with you. After tokens, it did not. Your children could inherit what you owed. Your name could carry a balance long after your body was gone. The moment debt outlived the body, money became inevitable. Now here is the twist that made this so much harder. Once objects could carry debt, they could also carry status. Not just, this person owes me grain, but this person has enough grain to lend. Suddenly, the object stopped being a record. It started being a signal. Who has more? Who has less? Who you should stand next to? Who you should avoid? A researcher studied the movement of prestige objects across chiefdom societies in Hawaii, Denmark, and the Andes. He found the same pattern in all three. The people who controlled the most valued objects were not always the strongest. They were not always the most skilled hunters. They were the ones who understood that the object itself had become the power. Not what the object could buy, what the object said about you. You already know this feeling. You have looked at a price tag and felt something shift. Not because you needed to know the cost, because the cost told you something about whether you were the kind of person who could afford it. That is not vanity. That is an ancient status signal running through a modern nervous system. The clay tokens are gone. The shells are in museums. But the feeling they created is still deciding things for you, every single day. Except the story does not end there. There is a moment most people never think about. The moment money stopped being an object and became a promise. For thousands of years, value lived inside the thing itself. A shell had value because it was rare. A clay token had value because it held grain. You could touch the reason it mattered. Then, roughly 3,000 years ago, something changed. Coins appeared, not in one place, in several places, almost at the same time. Lydia in western Turkey, northern India, ancient China. And here is what is strange about that. The metal in most early coins was worth less than what the coin could buy. People knew this. They accepted it anyway, because by then, humans had learned something extraordinary. Value does not have to live inside the object. Value can live inside the agreement. Think about what that required. It required every person in a society to believe the same fiction at the same time. Not forced to believe it, choosing to believe it, together. Researchers who studied the earliest debt records across Mesopotamia, India, and early China found something surprising. Abstract credit systems appeared before physical coins. In nearly every civilization they examined, people were trading in promises before they were trading in metal. The coin did not create trust. Trust created the coin. And here is the part actually worth sitting with. Your brain was not built for that kind of trust. It was built for a group small enough to fit around one fire. People whose faces you knew, whose histories you remembered, whose debts your body tracked automatically. But money asked your ancient brain to trust a stranger, then a city, then a government, then a number on a screen you have never touched and never will. Every step of that journey felt unnatural, because it was. When reward becomes unpredictable, the body tightens first. Not the mind, the body. Before you can name the fear, your shoulders are already up. When the rules of exchange stopped making sense, anxiety followed immediately. Your financial anxiety is not weakness. It is a very old nervous system trying to track something it was never designed to track. You were built to know your food, to know your people, to feel debt in your body like a physical weight. Now you are asked to trust institutions you cannot see, numbers that change while you sleep, a system so large that no single human fully understands it, and your body responds the way it always has, with vigilance, with unease, with the quiet feeling that something is about to run out. That feeling has followed humans across every version of money we have ever built. The shell, the token, the coin, the note, the screen. The container keeps changing. The fear inside it never does. You are not bad with money. You are not broken. You are a person with a 50,000-year-old brain, standing inside a system that is maybe 300 years old. The math was never going to feel comfortable. It was never supposed to. The ancient human who felt no unease about an uncertain food supply did not survive long enough to become your ancestor. The one who worried did. You inherited that worry. It kept your family alive across ice ages, droughts, famines, and wars. And now it wakes you up at 3 in the morning thinking about a number on a screen. The worry did not change, only the thing it learned to count.